Based on what we had done thus far, let me just make sure that we're both on the same page, everyone. Um, so we had covered three things so far, yes, everyone? For Ramadan schedule. Number one was the fasting once a week. Now, why is fasting important? Um, does anyone have anything to share? Why do we fast for? Why is fasting important?
For Allah's command.
سمعنا وأطعنا, Allah's
Command
okay, and
this was.
tone down nafs, okay.
And now we start or for Sunnah Ramadan?
It's a sunnah.
And to feel how the world would be.
So
So are you talking about Ramadan?
fasting,
Any kind of fasting? or-
any kind of fasting,
Yeah,
inshallah.
yeah, yeah. So we can use to control our nerves
Control nafs.
and our body also used to without food and how our body react and everything and adjust with
Sacrifices.
our metabolic system and everything.
So just by these few suggestions, this is what we know. This is what we know. How much do we not know? Until 15, 20 years ago, no one thought that fasting alternative days or there's a fast now people do from 12 o'clock at night to 6 o'clock in the evening.
Like 16-8.
Right? I forgot the.
Diet. Is that what you're talking
It's a
about?
type of, what do you call that? Intermittent, yes, intermittent fasting. So all this is coming about now. So when we say fasting allows us to be grateful, tone our nafs, understand what the poor people are going through, to gain closest to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to reset our digestive system, to strengthen our body. These are only things that we know. What do we not know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala still put in store for us? The thing is that we will never understand the full scope of why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has prescribed something. A person could say, prayer is like yoga, it's exercise. To some extent, the movement of the body is exercise of the body. The movement of the eyes is exercise of the mind. The way we recite is breathing exercises. But that's just a sliver.
Secondary meaning.
Huh?
That's the secondary meaning.
No, that's only something that we understand. We can go about and give excuses or explanation. Oh, Salah does this, Salah does that. But that's only a part. 99.99% we still don't know the benefits of Salah. In a similar fashion, all that we talked about fasting, we only know 0.01% of its benefits. We do not know 99.99%. So the point is, the world will continue to surface and to bring to light amazing benefits of the things that we do on a daily basis. The point is, let us never take what we are doing for granted. So fasting once a week will help us prepare, especially as we talked about last week or the week before, that we have another, I think we only have another 3 more weeks before the time changes. Once the time changes, then the fast will be interesting. Actually, Fajr starts around 6:40, but then it's going to start dropping fast. It's really going to start dropping fast. So subhanallah, there's going to be a lot of mashallah ease as we do once a week to get ourselves prepared for the long days of May and June, inshallah. So fast once a week was part of our Ramadan preparation. Number 2 was the entire Ramadan food chart would be on the fridge, right? Why are we doing that for? Entire Ramadan menu on fridge. Why are we doing that?
Get it out of our mind like it's sorted.
Limit expectations to kids also.
Limit expectations for
Kids
kids.
can use to like.
So kids know what's coming. We also know what we need to do. There needs not to be so much stress in regards to food. It's a month where we're sacrificing food. We don't need to indulge in food. And what was the third thing that we talked about, everyone?
I remember, like, give the
Calculate.
money you can save because of that fasting or minimizing your food, right?
Calculate the food expense and give its equivalent to someone else by feeding them. Feed someone else to that. See the beautiful part of our deen, the beauty of our deen is where you do a good deed and you see its blessing happen. Take that food that you've cooked. One is that you pay to a food bank, or one is that you go help in a food bank and deliver something that you. So, for example, let me put this in perspective. Your budget for Ramadan cooking is around maybe $900, right? Because we're having biryani every second day, we're having nihari, and we're having maqluba and all this stuff, meat. Okay, now we simplified the diet. Meat is maybe once or twice a week, simple stuff, soup. So now what we've done is we broke it down to, mashallah, $600 or $500 for the month. What we'll do is we'll add another 200 to make it 7, and the food that we are making, we're gonna make a little more, and we're gonna take that, not the leftovers, we're gonna take some of that before we eat and go and feed someone. See, goodness spreads from our hands, not just from our pocket. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Holy Quran about وَجَاهَدُوا بِأَمْوَالِهِمْ وَأَنفُسِهِمْ فِي سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ, He praises those who strive with their wealth and themselves in the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Today we're either doing one or the other. Either we're doing the work or either we're giving the money. You have to do both. The Quran says you put your money and your time and effort together and strive for the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So if we're giving money, it's fine. I'm not undermining it, but that's half the equation. If we're actually packing boxes and feeding people, it's half the equation. Put your money, put your effort, and go feed a person. That would be, inshallah, very important. Inshallah, it's going to be a very beneficial experience, and it will help. Us bring forth true gratitude that lives beyond the 30 days of Ramadan. I always tell people, how good was your Ramadan? As good as the day after Eid is. If we're going back to our old habits, if we're going back to our old ways, then Ramadan wasn't good. If Ramadan changed me that I'm continuing my 6th fast of Shawwal and I'm eating light and I'm still sharing with others and I'm grateful for what I have and I'm not wasting things, Ramadan went good. But subhanAllah, Ramadan isn't going good. You know why? Because we have this analogy, as soon as Ramadan's done, let's go back to schedule now. You know what? We did all these things, let's go back to schedule. We spent 30 days awake up for tahajjud and suhoor, now let's go to sleep and forget fajr, wake up at 7 and get ready for school or work. So when we say we're going to go back, you already made intention, we're not going to use Ramadan to go forward. It's like a person who has 3 arteries clogged, they have a surgery, their stents inserted or they have a bypass, and now they're coming home and the doctor has told them, now life is different. Medications, food, diet, everything, and they're like, okay, now it's done, I'm better, let's go back to our old ways. Anyone will say the person is silly. Same way, if we are going to be adamant on our old ways, Ramadan is not going to change us. It says one salah to the next salah should be changing us. One Jummah to next Jummah should be changing us. Kafaratul lima baynahuma. Forgiveness of sin is different, but it should actually start changing us. We should see that change, at least if not on a daily basis, an annual basis when we do a reassessment. From last year to this year, I feel my heart is more at peace with prayer. I could do another 2 minutes my prayer longer. I could sit after prayer and make dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and take in the feel of salah. If that change isn't happening, then a person at the age of 70 will be praying the same way they prayed at the age of 20. No change has occurred. Because we're not using that regimen for change. We're just doing it for cultural reasons. We're just doing it because we have to do it. So we want to make this Ramadan a change, inshallah. That whatever we enter Ramadan with, we're going to make effort to enter Ramadan, and we're going to get through Ramadan, and we're going to continue after Ramadan, inshallah. Ramadan is a bridge. We need to get to the bridge before it starts, the journey, so we can cross the bridge and continue after, inshallah. Sometimes what happens is we don't make the effort of preparing, so we start our Ramadan from where we are. And by the time 30th Ramadan comes, we are here. Where are we? At the edge, that we could fall off. So, okay, let's go back. You understand? We're here. We have to be here before Ramadan starts so we could start building that bridge. That bridge is going to go to some other side, and from there we're going to continue, inshallah. So number 4, in addition to fasting 1 week, articulating the entire menu of Ramadan and putting on the fridge so expectations are done, calculating the food expense, and from that, feeding someone, cook and feed someone. Number 4 is going to be 1 invitation a week. Let me explain this. And that's going to be maximum. I don't know what the culture is here, but I'll explain to you what I'm saying. Some cultures are Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, dawat, invitation, break fast. And this is when we all remember the hadith. Oh, you should not reject someone's invitation. I'm giving invitation, you come to me. So first of all, the person cooking is burdened. The person who is invited is burdened. And subhanAllah, I don't know why so many Muslim organizations take the opportunity of doing this and doing a fundraiser. So they'll do a Ramadan iftar fundraiser. They'll call you maybe an hour before, they'll have their program, they'll pitch their thing, you'll break your fast and they'll do their fundraiser, you eat your dinner and off you go. You know how tiresome that is? I don't even care if I wasn't cooking. To get to the venue on time and listen to the speakers and then break fast in a place where I'm not accustomed to. Remember, your body changes. If I was told to go to the hall, Crystal Banquet Hall, and pray Maghrib, and I'm accustomed to praying at the masjid or at the home, the body doesn't feel right. It's different. And so you already strained a body that's strained throughout the course of the day, and then you expect to come back to the masjid and keep things as usual. It doesn't work. So you can say to people after Ramadan. You're not saying yes, you're not saying no, you're saying after Ramadan. The best way to do it. So there's no one saying, oh, you accepted theirs and you don't accept mine or something. No, after Ramadan, I've seen here Eid dawats go for 4 or 5 months as it is. So just after Ramadan. The purpose is we need to break it down. I don't think it's fair to say, no invitations because it will look bad to many people. But if we create the trend, one Saturday or one Friday night, I would even say Friday, I would say Saturday. One Saturday, if someone has invited, then we could go for iftar and see how different you feel that day in comparison to the other days. So you're making a system now. 6 days is following a system. The 7th day is a hiccup. You'll feel it. But since in past Ramadan, there wasn't a structured schedule, it was just like, okay, go here, do this, do that, pray 20 rakat tarawih, prayed 6 rakat the next day. It was just waves. And in those waves, anything that's in the waves is being tossed around. Anything that's swimming beneath the waves, like a fish or anything else, it's going somewhere. Doesn't matter how strong the waves are above. It goes deep and it swims. So same way, we need to get off the waves and go underneath the water, into the water. Immerse ourselves into Ramadan. Don't sit on Ramadan because the Ramadan schedule of society is going to toss us. Sometimes it's throwing us back on the shore. Sometimes it's sucking us back into the water. Get into the water. So when you get into the water, you will say to yourself, after 6 days of eating at home and going to the masjid and having this regiment, this one day really messed up my schedule. But alhamdulillah, it's fine. We went, we did our iftar, but I need to focus more. Number 5, and we'll end with this inshallah. We'll be adding up to 9 things we're going to be adding inshallah for our schedule. Number 5 is going to be, what do you call that book? I want us to, a journal. Let's say journal. A journal of Ramadan. Now this journal doesn't have to be a 70-page, one subject book. It could be just a few sheets. You could put into like a small folder and make your journal. And in that journal, you're going to write 3 things. Number 1, what am I going into Ramadan to get? What do I want from Ramadan? What am I entering Ramadan to get? What am I entering Ramadan to lose? And number 3, what am I entering Ramadan to continue? Very simple planning. Everything in our Islam is planning, nothing else. What is this? I'm going to enter Ramadan and I have an intention, a goal, an aspiration, a hope that I'm going to gain closeness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Or happiness in my prayer. Or control over my tongue. Or a sane and stable mind. Whatever it is, make that intention. Don't make too many. It's hard when you make too many goals. But in these 3 segments, I am going to get something. I want something from here. If you go shopping to the mall or to a grocery store or even to a corner store with a list, you're going to do good. But if you go even to a corner store, forget the mall, without a list, or we're just going to go walk around, you're going to come home guaranteed with things that you didn't need. You spent your time. You brought things, but you brought things that were not of use to you. So the question is, if a person was sent to the store to pick up milk and they brought chocolate and chips and they brought Gatorade and Coke, but they didn't bring the milk, the question isn't, why didn't you bring something? The question is, why didn't you bring what you're supposed to get? So what am I going in Ramadan to get? I know there's something I can get in Ramadan which I haven't got throughout the last 11 months. Now, how do I know what that is? Just backtrack to your last few Ramadans. What was different in those Ramadans that didn't continue after Ramadan? You know, there was more peace in the home, whatever it was. I want to get that this time. And getting it means I'm going to not just look at it, I'm going to pick it up and I'm going to walk out of the store with it. Number 2, what am I going to lose? What are the things that I know are not right for me in my personal life, in my public life, that I need to lose in Ramadan? Ramadan is a month to lose habits. Let me give you an example. You talk about that hadith and the incident about those women who were brought to the Prophet ﷺ, and you know they wanted to vomit, like you know they were sick, they wanted to break they wanted to break their fast because their stomachs were hurting and they were dying of hunger, and the Prophet ﷺ said to them, you know, vomit. And we know this. Some people say this hadith or this story is very weak, but this story is authentic. Its chain of narration is weak, but the story in itself is authentic. Now, what is going on here? In your Ramadan, in your fast, and I'm saying this because I want that schedule of food. Just say the schedule of breakfast for 30 days is banana, porridge, and a cup of water, right? You're going to learn not only barakah, as we talked about this, you're going to learn how small food could go a long way, but you're also going to learn something very important. That yesterday, the whole day went by very well with a banana, porridge, and a cup of water. But today at 11 o'clock in the morning, I am hungry. Now your journal's coming. Because just say you wanted to lose, for example, anger, or you wanted to lose cursing, or you wanted to lose impatient attitude. Just say that was it. Now what's happening is you will lose those inshallah, but you will first lose the pieces that are making that happen. You're going to lose the bricks that are making this. So what happened was 11 o'clock, now you're hungry. What's going on here? What people say is, oh, I didn't eat a good suhoor. This is where it's going wrong. You made the schedule. Follow that schedule. Because I want us to see Allah's power. When we have a fixed regimen of our suhoor and iftar, now that's not the issue. The issue is something else. Just rewind your life for 1 hour. How long? 1 hour. What did you look on your phone? What did you listen to? What did you speak? Eyes, ears, mouth. That's it. What did I listen? What did I say? What did I see? And I promise you, you will find something that wasn't good. Either I spoke down about someone, I cursed, I backbited, something happened, or I listened to something which wasn't good. I listened to something which was derogatory. I listened to something which was lewd or immoral. I saw something which my eyes weren't supposed to see. Right away, your stomach is saying to you, I'm done. Hunger. What happened? All your spiritual energy is gone. Ramadan is a month where Allah shows you that if this one sin, it's not even the sin, it's a dawa'i. It is a means of many more sins. You see, we talk about sins being one. Imagine how many ones we're doing if we're accustomed to seeing something every time and not knowing it's a sin. Or saying something every time not knowing it's a sin. Or listening to something all the time not acknowledging it to be a sin. We're not going to make istighfar. Rather, our attitude is going to grow to be more of a rebellious attitude. First, we'll listen to music in our ears, then we'll listen to it in the home, then we're going to blast it in the car, and then when it's summer and we're on the way to the masjid, we're going to enter the masjid with, Dil Diwana Hai Patni, whatever. We're just going to keep on listening. Why? Because our ears have made us lose our sense of shame. Now you are doing one sin. These ones are piling up. They're piling up. By the end of the day, there's maybe 10,000 one sins. And the sad part is, there's no astaghfirullah for it, because what's wrong with that? What's wrong with that? I'm not here to tell you any fatwa today. I want you to see what happens in Ramadan. When you will do something in Ramadan and you will feel yourself lose every bit of energy. Don't say, maybe it was because I was cooking too much in the morning, or I was running around with the kids, or I never slept right last night. Your regiment has to stay the same. That means Allah's telling me, if it took away your physical energy today, it's going to take away all your deeds tomorrow. It is making you bankrupt in your stomach today, it's going to bankrupt your account tomorrow. Ramadan is an eye-opener. So now you know, because of maybe what I'm looking, listening, or speaking. Because these are first before we do something. First is what you hear, what you see, what you talk. Then it becomes what you think, and then it's what you do. So I want to go into Ramadan losing one or two things, and while discarding those from my life, it's like anywhere there's water, boats in Florida, for example, the boats, they pull them out of the water after a bit, and what they do, they spend days scrubbing it, because it gets all these like calluses. All this stuff sticks onto the boat, and although it doesn't harm the boat, what happens is the boat on the bottom is made in such a way that it can smoothly go through the water. Now these, I forgot what they call it. It looks like shells, and it looks like mold. It starts piling up. On the bottom of the boat. When you're sitting on the boat in the water, you can't see it. When they pull it out, it's full of it. Now they scrub it off. It takes days to scrub it off sometimes. Why do you scrub it off? Because now that's hindering the pace of the boat. It's slowing down the boat, and it's making the boat ineffective. It could burn out the engine. So when I have too much pile-on of sins in my life, doesn't matter how much I'm running to prayer, I'm actually burning my engine and transmission. Because I'm stuck in gear one, and I'm trying to go 80 miles per hour. It's not going to work now. Something is really wrong. So I want to gain something in Ramadan, my journal. I want to lose something, and I'm going to gauge that through the course of Ramadan. And number 3 was to continue forward. To continue forward means if any one of the practices, maybe fasting once or twice a week, maybe feeding others, maybe eating simple, maybe waking up for tahajjud, maybe going to the masjid for prayer, maybe spending time with the family. This is 6 things so far, right? Any one of these 6 or more, I want to continue through after Ramadan. I still want to wake up for tahajjud, because if we can wake up in May and June and July for suhoor, it's proving to us we can wake up for tahajjud. Doesn't matter if it's 3 o'clock in the morning. You're not going to lose. You're not going to lose in Islam. See, some people say, subhanallah, someone was telling me the other day, there's a fatwa, you don't have to fast in Ramadan, you can fast other times. And I said, let me tell you something. We hear weird things in this place. Let me tell you something very clearly. The Quran and the Hadith is our guidelines to see not only Allah's greatness, but to bring that greatness within us, right? Now, in Ramadan, you left 11:30, 12 o'clock at night from the masjid. You went to sleep at 12:30, you woke up at 3:30. You're semi-tired and you're semi-fresh because your body's, after 3 hours or so, body's good. Now, you go to sleep after Fajr and you wake up, chances are you're going to feel weight. You're going to feel very exhausted and drained. Because after Fajr, sleeping is sometimes not really recommended. You could sleep, the longer you sleep after Fajr, the more dissatisfied you are when you wake up, right? So from 5 o'clock, your day started. The kids got ready, they went to school, you had to do whatever you had to do. The iftar should be prepared at that time. See, the problem is we start preparing iftar Asr Maghrib time. That's the most blessed time. Who understands Jummah before Maghrib Azan is the most blessed time? No one. The other day, Alhamdulillah, gave me tawfiq. I came and sat down just before the thing. 2 brothers maybe, and we forgotten. This is the most blessed time. This is the time to drop everything. You have to drop everything. This is the most important time. So the iftar doesn't have to be cooked fresh. It can be cooked in the morning. If you have to put it in the fridge, put it in the fridge. Take it and warm it up after. Now time of Dhuhr came. Dhuhr time came. You prayed Dhuhr. Kids are still at school, inshallah. Things are still okay. You're not burdening yourself because the energy that you had, you've used it for what you needed to. Now go to sleep. Now go to sleep. I promise you, you don't need to sleep more than 30 minutes. And you won't sleep more than 30 minutes. But you'll wake up refreshed. You'll wake up as if you slept for hours. And you'll wake up like you had a full night's sleep. There is a saying, Man qala qala Allahu faqad kafar. Our teacher asked this, Man qala qala Allahu faqad kafar. And we were debating, it's like, how could you say that? Whoever says Allah said did kufr. What is this? So we were debating this, and qala means to say, and qala also comes from the root qaylula. Whoever says Allah does qaylula means kufr, because Allah man dalladhi la ta'khudhuhu sinatun wala nawm. He doesn't get tired nor does he sleep. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't need it, but we need it. And it's such a powerful sunnah called qaylula. And that is sleeping in the afternoon, after dhuhr, after lunch, even if it's for a limited amount of time. So subhanallah, that is something that's going to reaffirm the power of the fast, the power of Ramadan, the power of Sunnah, and you will realize this isn't just for Ramadan. Many of us say, oh, these were the blessings in Ramadan. No, these were the taste testers in Ramadan, so you could buy it even after Ramadan. You go to Costco's or Sam, they're giving you a sample, taste it, and then buy it and keep buying it. Become a consumer for that product. Don't just taste and say, oh, it was good, but now they don't have that table anymore. That's the mindset of Muslims. Oh, Ramadan was so beautiful, but it's not there anymore. Ramadan isn't there, but what you saw in Ramadan, what you experienced in Ramadan, what you gained in Ramadan can continue after. The product is still there. The question is, am I willing to go to the fridge or to the aisle where it is and pick it up and take it with me? That's the question. So alhamdulillah, I think we spent a good amount of time on this, mashallah. So fasting 1 day a week, entire Ramadan menu is on the fridge, calculate our food expenses, and then as we see an average being dropped almost to half, we will then add some more money to it and then feed others, not leftovers. Go at Asr time to someone you know who is hungry, sit down with them, feed them a meal. Find people.
Yeah, this is not easy.
It's not easy, we'll find it. Allah will make it happen, inshallah. If we cannot find someone, we will go.
It's an organization, I know, like they get the food or they get the money to feed someone.
These organizations are there, and it's such a blessing that these organizations are there. You know, one of the fears that I have is that we don't have the value anymore just because we give the money. And number 2 is a time will come, the Prophet ﷺ told us, a time will come when a person will go out seeking to give sadaqah to someone and will not find anyone. Many muhaddithin say it means a time will come, everyone will be well off and no one will take sadaqah. Makes sense. Look at this angle. If I was to walk out of my house to go help someone, can I find someone to help?
We used to do, like we used to collect money, buy all the grocery for a month.
Sure.
Before Ramadan, we used to take it to everybody's house and deliver it.
Alhamdulillah.
And that was very nice, that turned out to be very, very, helpful to us.
Which again, these things, we're not going to stop them, inshallah. The pre-Ramadan food drive to help people through the month of Ramadan. And subhanAllah, that's such a need now because the culture has become, it's a month of eating. And a person who just about lives with peanut butter sandwiches in the Muslim community now needs rice and meat because everyone else is doing it. You know, the kids are talking at school, oh, last night we had this, and they're like, yeah, we just had the same thing. So as I said, Ramadan has lost its essence. We've made it more of a festive food that are only available in Ramadan, not available after Ramadan. I don't see any discrepancy written on the menu. Sorry, this is not available until next Ramadan. No, you could cook anytime.
Right now also we are doing it
Mhm.
in a smaller scale,
MashaAllah.
but mashallah it works out very good.
Alhamdulillah. In addition to giving money, in addition to feeding poor overseas, in addition to helping organizations locally and foreign, this is one thing. The food that you've calculated the money, you will cook, even if maybe your neighbor, even maybe the person down the street. Just go.
Make it like as a dawah, just give it to our neighbor, even the non-Muslim.
That's fine. Even non-Muslim. This is not just for Muslim.
Yeah.
Anyone. Why is this important? Because we will understand the feeling of what sharing is.
I know in the masjid, they, like in Makkah, maybe Ramadan now, they're doing that basket, like as a $50, $100, you give it, so it's gonna be.
And they make a
sadaqah,
basket.
give it, yeah,
In addition to all those things, this is going to be where you took your money, you cooked the food, you put it into thing, and you will go feed them after Asr before your time to eat. We're not going to take yesterday's food to them, nor are we going to take the food after Isha to them. We're going to take them before. لَن تَنَالُوا الْبِرَّ حَتَّى تُنْفِقُوا مِمَّا تُحِبُّونَ. You love this food right now because you know how much you need it for yourself. You're waiting for that. But now you're going to go and give it to someone. Not all of it. Give them a bowl. Give them a little bit. As I said, you expanded what you cook for your family, and you're going to go feed someone. Doesn't have to mean that they're dying on the street. But you will see in the 30 days, Allah will open your eyes to meet people just like that. You'll meet the strangest stories you hear, the most amazing experience you'll have. See, what molds our life are the experiences that we have through our deed, not what we say or do in our deed. You know, I went to my next door neighbor and they told me how much they appreciated because for 2 days they never had food. I didn't know my neighbor was hungry. You understand? We didn't know these things. So what that's going to do is build experiences. It's going to solidify that gratitude. It's going to allow you to be caring for your neighbor. It's going to be allowing you to be caring for the walker, the person who crosses your children to school. Give them food. For example, someone who's working cleaning the streets, you gave them food. Anyone. Pack it up nicely and go and deliver it. And see every day that new experience what it does to you, inshallah.
And it doesn't have
Anyone. Everyone has a right to eat. Everyone needs food. And as a Muslim, it's our duty to make sure everyone gets food. So in addition to the food baskets and the food drives and the charity events that we will have, this is something I'm going to do for myself, inshallah. So we have 5 done. We have 4 to go, inshallah, and we'll continue that in the weeks to come. Alhamdulillah, we'll go to the book, inshallah, itself. Any questions on what was discussed or any other questions anyone has before we begin? Anyone, inshallah? MashaAllah, okay. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah wa kafa wa salatu wa salamu ala rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa mawala. SubhanAllah, we were talking about the sacrifices and the determination that the Sahabiyat had for the deen of Islam, and how they truly went the extra mile for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The question is, why do we talk about these ancient figures? Many reasons. People say we want contemporary examples. We want examples of people from today's day and age. That's important. But understand the importance of these people also, because they had everything to lose. In this day and age, we don't have much to lose. It's a matter of humiliation. It's a matter of someone maybe taunting us or people talking bad about us. But these people lost everything and they had much more to lose. And they gave that up for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. As I said, they were free falling into the hands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala showed us through the entire life that Allah did not abandon them. You can't tell a story when it's being written. You can tell the story how good it is once it is compiled and complete. When we talk about following figures or identifying figures that should be acknowledged as religious figures, noble figures, people that we want to assimilate and we want to follow, or we want to make our children follow, the Prophet ﷺ, his life, the Sahaba's life are the best, and I'll tell you why. مَن يُرِيدُ أَن يَسْتَنَّ فَلْيَسْتَنَّ بِمَنْ قَدْ مَاتَ. You want to follow someone who's dead. You know why? Because their story is complete. Their story has once upon a time and the end. Their story has no chance of change. Some people start off a book, a story, a movie really well, then it goes bad, right? Don't look at where the story is in its phase. Look at it once it's done. So when we talk about good figures, noble figures, people who really made sacrifice for Islam, even though they may be contemporary, they have to be people who are dead. Because sometimes we connect so much credit of Islam and its purity and its authenticity with people who are alive, and Allah forbid something wrong happens, it makes Islam look bad. It takes away the credibility of Islam in the eyes of the people, and especially our children. So we like pointing, that's a good Muslim, and that's who we should follow. No, we should follow the good people who died doing this, and their story is written of how they did it, right? So moving along, another one of the early Muslim women who thought little of the sufferings and tortures they endured for the sake of Islam was Sumayya, the mother of Ammar ibn Yasir. One radiallahu anhuma. When the midday heat was at its most intense, now picture Texas, remove all the grass and the cement of Texas or Plano and just make it into sand, right? And put a few rocks on it. You know, it's 100 plus heat. The sand, when it blows, it's like ashes. It burns you, and it's hard, right? So I want you to picture that first. So Sumayya radiallahu anha, when it was the most intense heat of the day and the desert sands were boiling, Banu Makhzum would drag her and her son and husband out to an exposed area, i.e. the open road, where they would pour burning sand over them, place heated shields on them, and throw heavy rocks at them, until her son and husband sought to protect themselves from this appalling torture by saying some words to agree with the mushrikeen, although they hated to do so. Concerning them and the others in similar situations, Allah revealed the ayah. Now, I want to put this in context before I say the ayah. I don't have to say I'm a Muslim. I can change my name. I can take off my hijab. One is taking off hijab, okay? And one is dressing very immorally and saying, because Allah's in my heart, I don't want no one to harm me. Quran says, إِلَّا مَنْ أُكْرِهَ وَقَلْبُهُ مُطْمَئِنٌ بِالْإِيمَانِ. Chapter 16, verse number 106. Anyone who after accepting faith in Allah utters unbelief except under compulsion, his heart remaining firm in faith. What is this verse talking about? This verse came down after Sumayya radiallahu anha, her husband, and her son Ammar radiallahu anhuma were being tortured day in, day out because of their Islam, not because the perception that they may be tortured. See the difference? One is, I think someone will make fun of me. Look what happened to the Sikh brother just yesterday, day before yesterday. Someone in 7-Eleven threw hot coffee on him and beat him up because he thought he was Muslim. Huh? Our brethren in humanity are suffering because people think they are us. But it's not happening to everyone. There's a few cases here and there. We have not reached the stage, and may Allah protect everyone from reaching this stage, because the Uyghur Muslims are in that position right now, that day in, day out, look what was happening. Their own tribe, Banu Makhzum, in the middle of the afternoon, dragging them out, throwing sand on them, and then shields, metal shields, they would stick it to them. The heat of the sun, the heat of the atmosphere, and the heat of the shield itself, and then throw these large, heavy rocks on them. In order to stop it, they said, okay, we don't believe in Islam. Okay, we're with you. They said it, but their hearts did not want to say it. I was, many years ago, as a child, we went to Buffalo to spend the weekend in a masjid, and we went to visit the families, and someone told us of a Somali large Somali family at a certain house. So we went to see them, and I'll never forget that day. When they opened the door, it reminded me of Saudi Arabia. In Saudi Arabia, we visited people who, in one small house, like maybe 1 or 2 rooms, there's like 30 people living there. Why? Because it's hard to pay the rent, right? So there'd be 30 people living there, maybe 15, 20 people sleeping at one time, other people working, come back, go, one bathroom, one kitchen, sleeping there. Why? So money could go home to their families because they have to support their families. And just on a side note, everyone's making their sacrifice. And we should all express gratitude and also be grateful for the sacrifice of each other. A husband and a wife are making sacrifice for the family. Let's never underestimate that. Husband may be traveling or, doing whatever he does for work, or the wife may be traveling, do whatever she needs to do. But we should always be grateful because nothing is easy. It doesn't matter if you travel first class. Traveling itself is, the Prophet ﷺ said, "As-safaru qit'atun min an-nar." Travel is a piece of hell. It's a piece of hell. And for those who do it, know it. It's not easy. So there is a lot of hardships that people endure. Walked into the house and there was like sleeping bags and blankets everywhere, and the house was full of people. One of them told us their entire story, how they were taken by missionaries from Somalia to other countries in Africa so that they can convert to Christianity. They were taken from their homes, they were made into like these orphans type of thing, and put into basements of churches where they would be given shelter and food, but they had to worship on Sunday with everyone. There was a time when churches started becoming empty. This was one of their processes of keeping the churches full. It's an ancient technique. It's like Noha, when someone would die and the family never had friends, and I think that's coming back now, because you could have maybe 1 million followers on Facebook and not 2 people show up for your janazah. So they used to hire people. And those people would come and cry. They'd do niyaha. Oh, I knew him when he was a child. You didn't even know who this person was. You just been hired for $100 for the hour just to do this. You didn't even know the person. So what happened was the churches did this so that they could fill the pews and so that the churches could look normal. And we know where things are going. And this is happening to our masajid also. We're not putting anyone down. This is what's happening. So from Africa, they went into Europe, and from Europe, they were shipped to America. Ultimately, they got their freedom, and now they're trying to make their life. They said that they would be fed bread, water, wine, and pork. Imagine for 13 or 15 years, that's all you have to eat. We complain. We ask for fatwa. Imam, what's wrong with eating? And I'm really going on this, I'm going to be going on this path right now when I combat the food issue, because we did it in our holistic lifestyle, and I've been arguing with a few brothers who are close to me. We say that you could eat anything because you're ukriha. You're in a difficulty. A person can eat pork and eat haram and drink wine after 72 hours of consecutive hunger with nothing else to eat, and only that much to keep the backbone straight. Nowadays, we'll go and eat meat from outside or eat at, McDonald's or this, that, and the other, and say, it's fine, No, it's not fine. And just to reiterate, and I've talked about this in my other class also, none of these restaurants are Ahl Kitab. None of them. Please believe me, I've studied this for years. I've gone through ingredients, I've gone through these systems, I've gone through how these meats are processed. My brother's running a whole institution or a whole service throughout the Canada and South America, now spreading into Asia, the Halal Monitoring Association. Forget how our Muslims deceive sometimes in halal restaurants and halal meat stores. That doesn't give justification for us to say Chick-fil-A, Burger King is halal. It's haram, haram, haram. It's haram. I can prove it to you, it's haram. Just because they close on Sunday doesn't make them Christian. Their meat in the Bible, just as in the Torah, is the same as in the Quran. Raise it humanely, slaughter it, drain its blood. That's why we eat Ahl Kitab. Have you ever thought that there's kosher meat, but there's no Christian kosher? Have you ever thought that? The Jews are super extremist in their faith. That's how Allah defines them. They are very rigid in their faith. The Christians are very lenient in their faith. The Muslims are to be the balance. The Jews are very, very strict on themselves. And we've talked about this before. The Sabbath, they will not touch anything electronic, even if someone in the house is dying. They will not pick up the phone and call 911 because you're not allowed to use the phone on Sabbath. You're not allowed to touch anything electronic. You're not allowed to even drive a car. Islam said in that situation, you could break the rule. Ibn Abbas radiallahu anh is doing i'tikaf. What's the reward of doing i'tikaf in Ramadan? And someone comes and says, I need help. And he sighed when he saw no one was in the masjid. He said, I'm doing i'tikaf and I know it has a reward, but the Prophet ﷺ said, whoever goes and helps their Muslim brother gets a reward of 10 years of i'tikaf. He left his i'tikaf. Islam teaches us where to break and where not to break. It's very beautiful in that sense. So when we go and say, I can do this and I can do that, because I'm facing difficulty, we don't know what we're doing to our lives and our children's life. This food is killing our children. Nothing else. The food is what makes the environment. The environment is what's ruining us. It's all in the food. It's all in the food. It's all in the water. So these are people who told me when I was a kid that for those 13 or 15 years that they were in this cycle, they worshipped in the church, but they never touched the pork. They ate dry bread, sometimes stale bread and water. Never touched the wine, never touched the pork. Now you could say, well, Imam, that's chicken and this is pork and wine. If any one of us has eaten in Taco Bell and eaten a bean burrito, did you know there is, thank you, there's lard in their beans?
Not anymore.
Not anymore?
Mm-mm.
Well, the fact that they've taken it out is because people have called them out.
Yeah.
But the thing is, there's so much cross-contamination, you would never go there. It's like when you fry something in the kitchen, does the splashes of the oil stay confined to the frying pan? No, it goes everywhere. And when you sit to clean up, you could see how far it's splattered.
And you can use the same grill, for like
Everything is the same. People who don't care about your food, they're trying to get a living. They're just there to make a paycheck. They're not going to take care of our food. When you buy chili beans in the cans, read what it says in it. So the point was that they said to us, we never left our Islam, we never missed our prayer, and we never ate our haram. The determination to stay steadfast on your religion comes from what you eat. And the ability to leave your Islam in its practices is because what goes into your stomach. I said in my class, a holistic class, that look at the verse that says, today I have completed your religion, and اليوم أكملت لكم دينكم وأتممت عليكم نعمتي. I perfected my blessings and bounties upon you. وَرَضِيتُ لَكُمُ الْإِسْلَامَ دِينًا, and I'm pleased with Islam as your religion. I want you all to find that verse and read what that same verse says before it. It talks about food. Upon understanding how our diets are, in return your deen is complete. When your diets are controlled, then your deen is complete. When your food intake is not good, your deen is compromised. The food will do it, and shaitan will do it through the food. And he'll do it through these desires. These desires come through what we eat. And desires are torn from what we eat. The Prophet ﷺ, how he ate, what he ate, food was never a luxury. It was a necessity. They ate it because it was needed to be eaten. So the point is that here she is, and her husband, and her son, radiallahu anhum ajma'in, the father and the son gave out. They said, you know what? Okay, we don't believe in Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Just let it be. We're done. Okay, fine, go. But Sumayya radiallahu anha remained steadfast and patient. refused to say what the mushrikeen wanted to hear. The despicable Abu Jahl, who was the first martyr in Islam? Sumayya radiallahu anha. The first Shahida in Islam, the first one to die for Islam. What does that mean? It doesn't mean you go kill people and die, no. The first person who said, I'm a Muslim, unapologetically Muslim. I believe in Allah. Allah's in my veins. I don't care what you say about it afterward. I'm not threatening you. If I stand up and say I'm a Muslim, I'm not threatening you. I'm not a threat to you. If you perceive me to be a threat, that's your fault. I'm not a threat to you. But they perceived that determination to be a threat. So Abu Jahl Mal'un stabbed her with a spear, killing her. And thus she has the honor of being recorded as the first martyr in Islam. Some people, some narrations or some documents have narrated how he killed her, where he stabbed her. Very, very demeaning. Subhanallah. History of Islam is filled with other women who endured even worse torture for the sake of Islam. Their suffering did not weaken their resolve or exhaust their patience. Rather, they willingly accepted whatever befell them, hoping for reward from Allah. They never said anything that would undermine their religion, and they never humiliated themselves by begging for mercy. Historians record that many of the men who were oppressed, apart from Bilal radiallahu anh, were forced to say something that would please their oppressors in order to save their lives. But not one of the women who were similarly oppressed were reported to have given in. Except for Bilal radiallahu anh, who when they used to put him out in the sand and put a boulder, like a big stone on his chest, and it would literally be baking him. If you know how they're showing on Facebook and stuff how cold it was up in Minneapolis and Chicago. If you take a cup of water outside and you throw it, it can literally freeze. Right? You go in the heat of the desert and you take an egg and you crack it. It's a fried egg right there. Right? It's already cooked. That's why the mandi and stuff, right? The mandi, they cook it under the ground. There's a type of Arabian dish, which to me is my favorite. They cook this under the ground. They just dig it into the ground and they just cover it with sand. The heat cooks it. That's how hot it is. Now imagine that stone and that heat. The stone is being placed on your chest. Your skin is being cooked. Your skin is being cooked. And he's saying, Ahad, 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 only one Allah. He didn't give in. Except for him, all other men of the Sahaba, may Allah be pleased with all of them, gave in by saying something, although they never believed in their hearts. But here, all the women that were put in the same position never gave up. So what is this trying to tell us? Let me say as clear as I can. The true commitment and sacrifice in Islam can be exemplified through our women folk. It's been the case for history, for anything, in religion and anything else, the women were the front runners. Even if you see nowadays, in classes and stuff, even in the conference we had for the teenagers, there were more girls than there were boys. Why? Because Allah has put something in the women of their determination, resolve, that they want to do something, they will do it. And that is why our current society and the trend in our society is to derail who? Women, not men. Men are distracted as it is. They'll go 1 second here, 1 second there. They don't know where they're going. Women derail them. If you derail the women, you have destroyed generations. You have destroyed generations. There will be no generations. Destroy them. Incentivize them to do the same thing that they were doing, but with a title and with some money. Again, working is a necessity, is a need. You work. I'm not going to say it's haram. No one should say it's haram. But to say, I don't want to get married. I want to live a life of freedom. I want to travel the world and just be myself. None of us have been sent here to be ourselves. None of us were sent here to please ourselves. We were sent here to please Allah and then gain that happiness for self tomorrow. Tomorrow you'll have your own Jannah. You can invite your families, you'll be next door neighbors, you can tell them to come over and stuff. It's yours, right? Now you could go and enjoy yourself, pamper yourself, make yourself happy. But this world isn't about self, not for the lady, not for the man, not for the children, not for the elderly. It's not about self. This is about us. It's about everyone. So that understanding has been challenged, and people have gone off on this selfish tirade of, I need to be happy. And Islam taught us, and if we think these people weren't happy, then I think we're crazy. Because even after all this, they were happy. Sumayya radiallahu anha was happy. Khadija radiallahu anha was happy. She spent everything for Islam. She's every penny for Islam. She was happy. Like, they're not crazy. Possibility is I'm crazy. When we see someone who may not look like us, they may not have the abilities like us, they're not disabled. Maybe they're able, I'm disabled. If we look at the world from a different perspective, we turn the thing around, then we'll be able to see the beauty of that individual, of those people. If not, then that selfishness will close the doors of reality on us, and we'll be left alone in a cold, dark room, no one to ask us, no one to reach out to us, no one to call upon. So, subhanAllah, there was a reason why Islam flourished. And that was the Sahabiyat, the female women of Islam. And that's why it's so important to understand that we all make sacrifices. If that sacrifices are for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, its reward, its gratitude, its satisfaction will embrace you. And for generations to come, you will get the reward for that. These brilliant Muslim women welcomed the oppression they suffered for the sake of Allah and for making His word supreme on earth. They never stopped preaching the word of Islam, no matter what trials and suffering came on their way. In the story of Sharik al-Qarashiyya al-Amariyya, Ibn Abbas gives an eyewitness account of the depth of the woman's faith and how they rushed to devote themselves to Allah's cause, patiently enduring whatever trials that this entailed. Ibn Abbas radiallahu anhu said, Sharik began to think about Islam while she was in Mecca. She embraced Islam, then began to mix with the women of Quraysh in secret, calling them to Islam, until this became known to the people of Mecca. They seized her and said, if it were not for your people, we would have done what we wanted to do, i.e. kill her. But we will send you back to them. She said, so they seated me on a camel with no saddle or cushion beneath me, and left me for 3 days without giving me anything to eat or drink. After 3 days, I began to lose consciousness. Whenever they stopped, they would leave me out. Whenever they stopped doing this torture, they would leave me out in the sun while they sought shade, and keep food and drink away from me until they resumed their journey. So while they were taking her back to her people, this is how they were treating her. They were not feeding her. They're putting on this camel that was not even comfortable. Anyone who sat on a camel knows if you don't have anything beneath you, it's a very uncomfortable ride. This was not all the Muslim women did for the support of Islam. They also went out on military expeditions with the Prophet ﷺ and his companions. They were there as the forces of good to combat the forces of evil. They had the duty of preparing water skins, bringing water to the fighters, tending the wounded, and carrying the dead away on the battlefield. And the most critical moments, they never shrank from taking up weapons and entering the fray alongside the Prophet ﷺ and his companions. Bukhari and Muslim narrate many hadith which illustrate the brilliance of Muslim women during the Golden Age, when hearts were filled with vibrant faith, deep love for Allah and His Messenger, and the desire to make Islam victorious. We're going to stop here because this narration started, there's quite a few of them. But let me say something here to make sure that we close off with a complete and sane understanding of this. All the ahadith and incidents that relate to us about war are not inciting war or inspiring us to go to war. There is a story of two women, one from England, one from Alabama, who want to now come back to America and England after being indoctrinated by ISIS to become their wives and come back. This was not Islam. And if I have no authority to judge, but I doubt their Islam from the beginning. This isn't Islam. Yeah. But I don't have the authority to say it, so I will not say it. right? So all this, that anyone who raises arms and says that Islam is about this are liars. Because Islam for 13 years did not conduct war. When all legitimacy was there in order to drive your message to kill people. But they didn't do that because that's not what the message was about. When they migrated, and the people started coming to them to engage them in war. Quraysh wasn't coming with a white flag saying, hey, we just want to talk. No, they prepared an army laced with armor and with horses and with weaponry, and they're going to fight. Now the verses of jihad are saying you better fight. You have no choice. Now when such a deep command came from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that you need to go and fight, the woman said, we're coming also. They were part of the strategy. They were part of helping those who were fighting, and they too themselves fought alongside with the Prophet ﷺ. I.e., what is this telling us? That when the call was there, they were there. When the call was there, they were there. They were never saying, no, this is for them and not for us. The women never made excuses in Islam. Allah tells about in Juz 11, يَعْتَذِرُونَ إِلَيْكُمْ إِذَا رَجَعْتُمْ إِلَيْهِمْ. There were men who were making excuse to Prophet ﷺ, we couldn't come. The women didn't need to make excuse because they went. So the point is, that sense of resolve isn't founded in men. It's a fact. And when the women folk bring that to the table with what the brothers are bringing to the table, this unit becomes a unified force for many great things to happen. Not only can we tackle the problems of today, but we can lay down a foundation of goodness today so that it could continue flourishing throughout tomorrow and for generations to come. But it has to be done collectively. To say Islam is for men and not for women. Men learned Islam and women also learned Islam. Men taught Islam and women taught Islam. Aisha radiallahu anha was one of the greatest scholars after the Prophet ﷺ from the women folk, and she taught Islam. But our culture said, no, women go home, their worship is there, their deen is there, and men go. That's where the problem started. That's where the problem started. And the problems continue today where some are saying now, okay, women do this, men don't have to do this. No, our Islam isn't women or men, men or women. Our Islam it's a combined unit. We're an ummah. Allah says it's an ummah. It's a collective effort. When you take the ummah concept out of the equation, we will all fail. And we are failing miserably. We are failing miserably. But it's not late. It's not too late. If we unify, we are passionate about religion, we are driven to please Allah. We are driven to do good on this earth, to make sure no one's rights are violated, where everyone had the right to do what they needed to. You know, Imran Khan was saying the other day at the forum, such beautiful words about Medina Munawwara. You know, how there was a treaty when the Muslims had the caliphate. Yes, it was protection. That every Christian, every Jew, every person practicing their religion, their places of worship will be protected till the day of judgment. We will not take over your places of worship. It is not befitting for us to take over anyone's place of worship. It's their place of worship. Even if the church is closed and abandoned, we should never touch it. It's a church. It's a synagogue. And we have this pride, oh, we made the church into the masjid. Don't worry. Tomorrow your masjids will become churches. I say it with guarantee, without apology. It's not what this deen's about. It's not about mine against yours, yours against mine. This is not a battle. This is a journey. Our life is a journey. We need to work together. When the ummah can demonstrate that the Muslims work together, I promise you the world will come and work with you. Either as Muslims or without being Muslims, but they will work with you. Why? Because you demonstrated exactly what your religion was sent to show. But until then, we can speak as much as we want. It's not going to help us. So, sisters, create an atmosphere in your home where your sons and your daughters play their role in the deen of Islam. Do their part to become who they can be for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And again, doesn't mean we have to be warriors. I think I put this in context. This was the extreme call made because of the extreme circumstances, and they rose to the occasion even then. Until those wars occurred, and even after those wars occurred, and even between those wars when they occurred, Islam was still a productive force of goodness. And we have lost that goodness even amongst ourselves. May Allah forgive us for that. I mean, so inshallah, we have a lot to do. This class, its purpose is to revive the dead soul of Islam. Islam's body is there. It's 1.8 billion. Islam's soul is dead. We are gonna get, we're gonna get ready to revive the soul of Islam, inshallah. And that's when we own Islam. Own Islam. It's your Islam. It's no one else's Islam. Islam is mine. When you own it, you'll never discard it. The biggest failure in our ummah today is we don't own our religion. That's why our children don't want to own a religion. You're a Muslim. It belongs to you. Even if the car is 20 years old and a person buys the first time their car is my first car, you'll see them washing it every second day, polishing its tires and waxing it. Why? It's my car. This is my Islam. Doesn't matter how old or bruised up or banged up it is, it's my Islam. I'm going to fix it. I'll spend money on it, inshallah. May Allah give us all the tawfiq, inshallah. Forgive us for our shortcomings. Allow us to see the path of guidance with clarity, and allow us and our families, the brothers and the sisters as one ummah, to trek that path. Ameen ya Rabbil Alameen. Jazakumullah khairan. Thank you, everyone.